Hello, crafty friends. Welcome back. I'm making some really fun Christmas cards in today's video using a very unique set from Spellbinders called Saint Nick. There are a lot of dies to this set, and it's very detailed. I'll be using this set for all 3 cards, and then for each card I have a different background to go with it. I'm going to go ahead and die cut all of my pieces. I selected my colors and taped them all down, and I'll use my little mini scout to cut these out. Even though I pre-selected my colors, I do go back and change out a few of the colors. I'm going to skip ahead here. I'm sure you don't want to watch me cut all of these out, but the scout is really nice because you can cut out several at a time, as you see here. For all my cards, I tried to pre-select my colors, but I don't think there has been a single card where I didn't go back and cut them out with different colors of cardstock. For instance, the boots I cut out with brown cardstock, and I go back and use black cardstock for this. But I always keep my extra bits for future cards. The Santa suit is all cut out, and here are the rest of my pieces. This is a little schematic from Spellbinders' website to show you how the pieces fit together. And now I'll start assembling my Santa. I'll skip ahead here on this portion of the video as well, just because it does take a lot of time to glue these bits together. However, once you have put the Santa together, you know what you're doing, and the second one will go a lot faster. All of my white cardstock here is brushed white. It has a pretty sheen to it, kind of a metallic-y white sheen. However, it's subtle as well. For his face, I cut it out with alabaster cardstock, and I glued a little scrap of black cardstock behind his eyes to make it look like he has black eyelashes. You even have little teeny dies for the cheeks and the nose. However, you'll want to put on his mustache before you put on his nose. The mustache goes right over his little nose. So I do end up pulling that off, gluing on the mustache, and then putting his nose back on. Next, I'll put the fur on his hat, and there are 2 hats in this set for you to choose from. Here is his mustache. This Saint Nick can be really tall, so this card turns into a mini slimline card. And my card ends up measuring 3.5 by 7. I guess you could glue him together so he's shorter. But I was just having fun putting him together, and I didn't realize how tall he was going to be. I wanted to add some shading around the Santa, so I'm using a red Copic marker. This is Cardinal Red R59. And I did this before I glued on his arms. And the dark red looks a little harsh, so I'm going to use another Copic marker, a lighter red one called Light Rouge R14, and blend out the dark Cardinal Copic marker. This bit of shading helps him to look a little more round and 3D. It adds a lot to this piece. This cardstock is called Poppy Red, and it's from Spellbinders. Most of the cardstock I use is from Spellbinders. I love their cardstock because it's 100 pound. It's a nice thick cardstock. I'll add shading to his hat. I'm starting again with the darker Copic and blending it out with the lighter red. And I forgot to add his eyebrows. There's a die for his eyebrows, but on the picture you'll see that I did glue his eyebrows on. For this Santa, I'm going to have him hold a lantern and a Christmas tree. He could also hold a snowflake and a giant star. So you got a few options with this cute die set. And then here's the Christmas tree. I cut it out with fern green, and I'm adding a green Copic marker over it. This Copic is G46, which is called Mistletoe. I like this little Christmas tree die so much that I decided to make it the focus of card number 2. And then I'm going to glue a gold star on top. But again, I changed my mind later on and use a bright yellow cardstock for the star. Now I can glue this in the Santa's other arm. And I had to kind of peel up his arms. I put glue behind his gloves. If you have this set and you're putting it together, learn from my mistake here and don't put glue behind his hands. It makes life so much easier if you don't have to peel up what you glued down. Our Santa is done now, and for the background, I'm using a beautiful 3D embossing folder. This one's called Argyle Plaid, and this is a piece of mahogany cardstock. I wet it down on both sides with a baby wipe to prevent cracking. I'll pull my Platinum 6 onto the desk and run this through the machine. I like to run it through at least twice. So I'll run it back the front of the machine here. And then I can show you how this turned out. This is going to be a fun 3D embossing folder for not only winter, but Christmas. I suppose you could use it all year round. It looks just gorgeous on this mahogany red cardstock. I'm going to bring in some white pigment ink. I just couldn't resist. I think I'm a little bit addicted to this white pigment ink. It's from Hero Arts, and it's called Unicorn White. I'm using a flat blending tool to gently rub it across the folder, or not the folder, but the embossed paper. And it really brings out the pattern. I'm going to cut down this piece of cardstock so that it measures 7 by 3.5. And this will fit my Santa Claus nicely. I used the snowflake die and more brushed white cardstock to cut out these snowflakes. This is going to add to the background. And I'm just gluing all of these down flat. Then I can flip it over and cut off the overhang. I love using my pair of long, sharp scissors for this from Spellbinders. I'm going to add a few of the white stars as well around this panel. And I'm making sure that all of the stars and the snowflakes are right side up. For the sentiment, I'm going to use the Christmas greetings. These are really cute. They look very retro to me. I'm just going to use the sentiment that says joy. That is the wrong color of yellow. I need it to be sun-kissed cardstock, not the beeswax. So I'll pull out my Scout and cut this out with the right cardstock, so it's matchy-matchy to the lantern. I love that it has the shadow die for it. Now I can glue the joy onto the shadow. I'll save the little dot over the J. You get some really fun, classic Christmas greetings in this set. But for this card, I'm just going to use the joy. I'll glue it onto the shadow. And I'll put a little dab of glue at the top of the J. The dot is so small that I have to use my pickup stick to put this in place. Now I can glue everything together. So let's glue down Santa. Put plenty of glue behind him. I'm going to glue him down kind of at the right side of this card so that I have room for the Christmas tree he's holding as well as the joy sentiment. I have to kind of press him down for a while since the paper behind him is not flat. Now for the joy, and you can see that I changed out the star on the Christmas tree to be the sun-kissed yellow. and I removed one of the white stars that was on the background. It was just a little bit too close. And here's a close-up look at card number 1. I tried adding some white gel pen on the tree and the Santa, but I don't know what's wrong with my white gel pen. It just wasn't flowing. And now for card number 2. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to use the Christmas tree dies for this. And for the background, I'm using this beautiful press plate called Buffalo Plaid. Let me open this up. This is the first time I'm using it. I've had it in my stash for a few months, and I thought it would be perfect to back these beautiful Christmas trees. It measures 4.5 by almost 6 inches. The paper I'm going to use is some white cotton cardstock. It's called porcelain white. I'm taping everything down really well on my BetterPress machine so that if I need to restamp or repress this plate, I'll be able to, and it'll press it exactly in the same position as the first pressing. I like to put my cardstock on top of the plate and then pick it up with the door. I'm even going to tape the press plate in place because it can shift as I ink it up. The color I chose for the ink is called Strawberry, and it, of course, is the BetterPress ink. And I had to speed this up because it did take a while to ink this up. I like to go over it several times so the ink is nice and thick. This is such a pretty color of red. Now I can put the door back on. And again, I'm going to run this through my Platinum 6. Since everything is taped in place, I'm going to run it through twice. And I was lucky this time. I didn't need to re-ink it. It turned out perfectly. Let me show you what this looks like. Isn't that pretty? Off camera, I cut out all of the Christmas tree parts and glued them together. I'm using the Christmas greetings set again, and this one's just going to say Merry Christmas. And then I'm mixing and matching the colors of cardstock that I used on the Christmas trees. So I used all of the green colors from the Spellbinders shop. So going from lightest to darkest, I used Sage, Peridot, Rainforest, Fern, Blue Spruce, and the darkest is Forest. I'm going to glue them down randomly on this card so that they are going in all directions. I'm trying to fill up this panel completely. I don't want any empty spaces. And then I can even reuse bits. So I'm going to cut off the overhang. And then I can use some of the larger bits and glue them on the panel as well, like I'm doing here. I have 2 more Christmas trees left. And again, I'll cut off the overhang and just keep reusing the pieces. I'll put a Christmas tree trunk right here at the bottom. And then I can use the same piece to add the star right at the edge here. Okay, here is my panel all ready to be glued down onto a piece of poppy red cardstock. I cut this panel down so that it was a little bit smaller than an A2 sized card. I like to have this red border around it. And of course, the A2 size is 4¼ by 5½. I'll add some glue to the back of the poppy red and attach it to a top folding white card base. I decided not to add any additional embellishments to this card. I thought it was just cute as is. And here's a close-up look at card number 2. It's really fun when you can get a lot of use out of one die set like this. You could use this same card sketch with the snowflakes in this die set, or the larger star, or even the lantern. Last up is card number 3. I have my pieces already cut out. I cut out this brushed black frame using the Emerald Cut Labels die set. It came out in July, and I just love it. It's so unique. And again, I'm going to use the Christmas greetings for the sentiment. I used another 3D embossing folder called Adorning the Tree. This will go behind my Santa. And then I found some black striped cardstock in an older pattern paper pad from Spellbinders. I love a good black striped pattern paper. I wish Spellbinders would come out with a pad of all different kinds of black stripes. And I'm going to cut this down to 4 1/4 and 5 1/2. I wanted my stripes to be horizontal. To attach this to the cardstock, I'm going to use my tape runner. This is kind of a thin pattern paper. I don't want to use any liquid glue behind it. Now I can start building my card. First, I'm going to add the frame onto my 3D embossed panel. I didn't put glue at the top or the bottom because I want to insert my Santa underneath the frame and on top of the embossed cardstock. I'll add plenty of glue. This die cut piece, when it's all put together like this, he's kind of heavy. I want to make sure he doesn't flop off. I decide to allow Santa's hat to go over the frame at the top, and then I can cut off the overhang at the bottom. And he is almost ready to go. I just need to attach the stars that he's holding. I'll add the silver star on top of the yellow for added interest. And then I'm going to glue him in Santa's arm. This time I remembered not to glue down Santa's hand. It was very easy to tuck there. The sentiment is going to say, Merry Greetings. I want to put the greetings down first to save enough room for that. And then I'll put down the Santa frame. And I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to put the Merry. I tried it in several locations, but I end up putting it over his legs. This card looks really retro-y to me. And here's a close-up look. Again, no extra embellishments on this card. Most of the products that I used in this video today come from the Home from the Holidays collection. And of course, I'll have links to everything in the description box below if you want to check them out. If you decide to use my affiliate links, I get a little bit of kickback at no extra expense to you, so I really appreciate it when you use my links. I hope you enjoyed this video today, and if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I'd love to have you join us. I'll be back again really soon with another card crafting video. Bye!